I'm going to make a point in this video, but as usual, I often get to those things by telling a story first. So here's the story for today's point. When I was 10 or 11, 12 at most, my father occasionally started noticing some postural problems that I had. This would usually come up as the family was sitting around watching TV on an evening or on a weekend. And my father was a fairly impatient person at that time of his life, and I was terrified of him a lot of the time. So he would pop out with something, and then I would just clam up because I didn't know what to do with his frustration with me. So what I remember him saying on a couple of occasions is, "Oh, look at you just sitting there slumped over with rounded shoulders. I mean, what the hell? Fix your posture." As a preteen, and as a man in his 30s, neither he nor I had the social skills with each other to stop, examine the situation, and figure out what he really meant and what he needed me to hear. Of course, now I'm almost twice the age he was back then. I've had over a decade in the gym, and I understand what he was trying to tell me. Your shoulder blades have 4 basic movements that they can do, 2 basic planes of motion that they can move in with extremes at either end. If you pull your shoulders back so that your shoulder blades are pinching together, that's called scapular retraction. And if you pull your shoulders together in front, spread your shoulder blades apart, that's scapular protraction. You can also pull your shoulder blades up, which is elevation, and you can pull them down, which is depression. What my father was trying to tell me is that I was protracting too much. He was trying to get me to have more neutral shoulders. I was afraid to ask. He didn't think to explain. Here's the problem. All I could think was that he must mean that I had my shoulders too low and that I should hike them up. Years later, I still have an unconscious tendency to elevate my shoulders. I won't swear to it that I set that pattern of movement in response to what he said, but it's certainly an interesting coincidence if that's all it is. Many of us in modern life actually protract our shoulders quite a bit. We work at computers where the left to right size of the keyboard isn't as wide as our natural shoulders, so we kind of pull our shoulders inward. Steering wheels of cars, handlebars of bikes, lots of musical instruments. They may not require us to hunch in, but they certainly don't encourage us to retract. So as an office worker for 25 years, as somebody who plays piano and guitar, I happen to have some bad postural issues with my shoulders even now. I've been rehearsing guitar again lately after a 3 or 4 year break, and of course I'm having to rebuild some of my, fine motor control and strength in my fingers, and I keep noticing that I'm pulling my left shoulder forward, that I'm protracting it. I also, on bike rides, as my rides are getting longer and I'm tiring out, I'm always elevating my left shoulder, and I'm left-handed, so it makes sense that that's the shoulder I have more problems with. Here's my point. I notice a lot of people trying to help others and trying to counsel them with a similar spirit of frustration and I'm just going to say this one thing and then you'll figure it out from there, that my father practiced when he was a lad of 32 or whatever he was at that point, maybe 35. And it's often not enough. People will misunderstand what we're trying to tell them. They don't have the experience. And sometimes they'll go down wrong paths. Oh, you don't want me to depress my shoulder blade? Guess I'll elevate it a lot. No, we were talking about the other plane of motion. Sorry. And as the person with more knowledge at that point in both of our lives, he was the person who had the better chance of advising me. Obviously, as a non-child, I know to ask more questions when people are unclear with me. But even though the specifics of that history were peculiar to me and my father, I see that pattern come up a lot. I see a lot of fitness influencers saying, just do this, or even worse, don't do such and such, without telling you what to do instead. I'm not surprised that a lot of people get confused and feel like our fitness influencing isn't actually all that helpful. If this makes sense to you, consider asking more questions if you're the one being told what to do, and consider giving more context and more help if you're the person making recommendations, especially if your advice wasn't even solicited in the first place. Hey fam, if you've made it this far in the video, first of all, thank you. Second of all, if this video or any of my others have entertained you, made you smile, taught you something, given you some support on your own journey for mental or physical health and fitness, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if that's too much of a commitment right now, please at least give it a thumbs up. You'd be amazed how much that does for the engagement on a YouTube channel like mine. As I film this, I'm closing in on making my 100th clip. And old timers on YouTube will tell you that that's probably the minimum you need to get noticed by the algorithm. So I'm hoping as I get to that point and as I close in on 6 months to a year of making these, that the algorithm will start to prioritize me higher, and your thumbs up or a comment or a subscription will bolster that process. I don't object to making money at this, but right now I'm not sponsored, I'm not charging anything. I'm really doing this as a labor of love because of how much benefit I've gotten from this myself. Thanks for your time, thanks for your support, thanks for your attention. Go kick some butt, including your own, in a good way. Love ya.